The 11 Bang Bang Reload Show starts now.
Well, hello, everybody out there. Welcome back to the 11 Bang Bang Reload Show. We have I guess, are you a special guest or are you just a member of the family?
Just a member.
All right, this is my brother Caleb over here. As you all know, I'm Garrett. We are the 11 Bang Bang channel, and we don't have any special guests tonight. Tonight, we are just here to talk about hunting with Milsurp rifles, antique guns, muzzle loading shotguns, all kinds of stuff like that. If you're over there in the chat, chime in with any questions at any time. This one's not a real formal one. We'll stop at any point and read your comments and try to answer your questions if you got them. So anyway, what is your tell us about your hunt this year thus far, Caleb? What have you hunted?
Quail and pheasant.
Is that all we've hunted this year outside of the beginning of last year?
Well, beginning last year we did a little squirrel hunting.
Yeah, we haven't got into any deer hunting or anything like that. We usually get into that into January. Right now it is definitely, well, Dove is over. Dove is over for us, and we are in the middle of deer, quail, pheasant, prairie chicken in some parts of Kansas.
I've never seen one of them.
Yeah, they don't roam down to the south side very much, at least not where we're at. And we got Jeffrey Davis is in. Hi, Jeffrey. Steven Sheets, hi. And Snapper's in. I have made Snapper the moderator. I don't know if we know how that works yet, but I guess if anybody's on the naughty list, he can deal with it. Anyway, so we got 7 people in here right now. Let's talk about, let's see, what we started fall this year. We went, of course, our hunting seasons always start off September 1 with dove hunting, and we did get one dove hunt in this year. We were pretty busy, and we even attempted to film it.
How many doves did we get? I don't remember.
On day one, not very many. This year.
That's about the only time we went. I think I got one all year.
It was a complete. This year we did. Last 2 years on opening day of dove season, we've done complete Flintlock dove hunts. And if you want to talk about a challenge, a Flintlock dove hunt is a challenge.
Yeah, it's rough.
I think you've. I don't even think we brought one down with Flintlocks this year. That's how
I did.
That was.
I got one with my double, and Ethan got one with his Charlottesville.
Yeah, well, that would leave me, who didn't get anything with his Northwest trade gun. But anyway, we did film it. We went out and we just got a new GoPro Hero 8, and Ethan strapped that dude on and walked around for 4 hours. And, I mean, well, he probably actually walked around for about 35 minutes, but when he got back, the footage was about 4 hours long because he didn't know he filmed the whole thing in slow-mo. So, yeah, we do have some pretty good slow-mo walking around GoPro footage from that hunt. Go ahead, Caleb.
I was just going to say, it looks pretty oldie-timey with his old colonial outfit with a GoPro on his head.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to wear it, but somehow I decided that my favorite kind of dove hunting is to go out, park under a tree, get you some drinks, park under a tree, and wait for the doves to come to you. Ethan is of the opinion you need to stomp the brush and go to the doves. I'd rather sit on the pond dam or over there under a tree and wait for them to come to me. That's my way that I enjoy hunting them. But I know Caleb, you're kind of in the middle.
Yeah. Depends on what day it is.
Or how tired you are.
Or yeah, how tired.
Or if we can get Ethan to stomp the brush for us and send them to us.
Yeah, we just kind of lean up and rest.
Well, he's got to stay in shape for all that military stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any that day. You guys did. We generally dove hunt with double barrels, and that's where we have our best luck.
Yes. Since you get only 3 shots anyways, you might as well take a double. That way there's no questions asked.
Yeah, what he's talking about is here in Kansas, we have the shell capacity limitation when you're hunting migratory birds. Most of you know that. You have to plug your pump so that you can only hold 2 and 1 in the chamber. That's never been an issue when you take a double barrel. So, what's your favorite double barrel, Caleb? I know you own several.
Ooh, I like my Fox quite a bit.
Your Fox.
Yeah.
Funny thing, that's going to be the same answer I give, the Fox.
If I'm dove hunting and I want to get some, I take that.
Yeah, I'm pretty well gone to where if I'm going to use a modern, I call it modern shotgun, which mine's made in I think 1920, something like that. I have to go back and double check, but yeah, the Fox is. I don't know how it worked out. Did I get mine first, or did Ethan get his and you got yours?
You got yours first, and then Ethan went and got that one, and I bought it off him.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice sterling worth. And I just happened to get lucky during the 2013 firearms panic, you might say, when everybody was buying all the 22s and everything. I happened to get, in times like that, that's when you want to buy the classic firearms when everybody's rushing, selling all their stuff, looking for ARs, because they think that, it's coming to an end. So everybody's running out there getting ARs, selling all their old doubles and stuff. That's the time to get them, because I think I gave $280 for that Fox sterling worth. It's still in immaculate condition. It has ivory beads. Color case hardening is still really visible on the receiver. As a matter of fact, if you're looking at this video, that is the gun at the top in the picture for this video.
Yeah, and then my favorite's right under it.
What about your Stevens side-by-side 20 gauge?
My nephew loves that one. I never get a hunt with it. He's always got it.
He wants you to sell it to him.
Yeah, I know.
When's that going to happen, Caleb?
Told
his day.
Told him he could probably buy another one for not too much.
Well, what about yours? That's the one he loves.
Yeah. If I ever got to use it, I might like it too.
Oh, is that the way it goes? Okay.
No, not really. I usually tell him go ahead and take it because I got the one I want.
But anyway,
he's pretty good with it.
But anyway, that's dove hunting is mostly double barrels or flintlocks or caplock smoothbore shotguns for us. I don't even remember the last time I hunted dove with a pump or semi-auto.
I don't know if I ever have.
Yeah, because you have to plug the tube, and we've just never really done that. We've always had the option to either go single shot, double, or. But anyway, that's kind of how that goes for us. You do you remember the first time you went hunting?
I was real little and I went with Grandpa.
Yeah, with Grandpa.
I think I carried your 410 and Grandpa carried the bullets.
Carried the shells?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the first time I went, I got to carry the shells.
Grandpa just didn't get to carry the gun?
Yeah. And then the second time, I got to carry the birds. And then the third time, they let me carry a gun with no bullets.
Yeah, so you see, our grandpa's always been big into pheasant quail hunting, and he started us out when we were really small. Of course, we couldn't carry a gun with us the whole way. I remember the first time I got to go, I was so excited. We were going to go on Thanksgiving Day, and I had an old hunter's vest, the shotgun shell loops, and the big back, and it was orange. And I had a little set of Carhartt overalls. I was probably 4 or 5. I remember I had an orange beanie and a coat, and I was so excited. I put my boots on and everything, and I slept on the couch that night, completely dressed, ready to go all night long. And Grandpa got there about, I don't know, probably an hour before sun came up, and we got in his old, it was probably a Chevy. 75 Chevy, and he still has it, and we went clear on down toward Oklahoma, not into Oklahoma, but down toward Buttermilk, Kansas, and we hunted and hunted and hunted, and I think he got some quail. I didn't carry my gun that day, but when I got home, he gave me, I was just 4 or 5, and he didn't give it to me to hold, but he gave it to my mom and dad for me for later. He gave me a single shot 410, and probably 2 years after that, I was old enough to carry it. He just didn't let me carry any shells till I was about 8 years old. So,
yeah, I remember the first time I got to go hunting, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch and waited.
Oh, you had to one up me, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
But anyway, that was those are antique guns though. Those he was always shooting. My grandpa always ran a Sportsman 58 that he bought probably in 58. It was long enough ago that he went down to the hardware store and just bought it. And I don't even think that he was 18. It was before ATF paperwork or registration and all that, before the 60s. And he still hunts with that. And that is what I would consider to be an antique. Very special gun.
Is that the one Uncle Stephen always talked about, the yellow stream of shells coming out of it?
Yeah. See, Grandpa always would say, don't be out there wasting them shells. But when the birds fly, he gets a yellow stream of shells coming out the side of that 20 gauge.
One time my uncle said he needs to carry he bought a new, I think it's pump action 16 gauge. My uncle said, I hate it when he brings that. He don't hit anything.
Yeah, you got to
20 gauge.
You got to give him his gun, and he will clean house with his gun. But anyway, moving on. That's getting into pheasant and quail. We did have a pretty good pheasant hunt already this year, as you can see in the picture or the thumbnail for this video. We went out Sunday before Thanksgiving, I believe. We were moving some tractors around and stuff. I told Caleb, I said, bring the dogs, and we'll just take a quick stroll around this little grass patch in the middle of the soybean field and see what we can see. And it was a quick stroll. I think it took us about 10 minutes, and we had 2 pheasants, and we went home pretty well happy that we hadn't missed.
Yeah.
I was using my Fox, and I was actually loaded for quail, which when you're hunting, I generally load 1 barrel 7.5, 1 barrel for 7.5 shot for quail, 1 barrel 6 for pheasant. But this time I didn't actually have any 6, so I was just loaded 7.5 on both sides. And my pheasant got up probably about, I'd say, 40 to 50 yards away. Wouldn't you say that's about what that was?
Yeah.
And I shot him, and I knew I hit him because he cartwheeled to the ground. About that time, pheasants come up flying the opposite direction right past Caleb.
Well, I shot that first one because you had feathers going across to you.
Yeah, because you shot first. Yeah, because feathers were flying across my field of vision as I was leading mine. But Caleb, how far away was yours probably when you pulled on that one?
It was a little ways. I'm not sure how far.
20, 30 yards?
Probably 20.
Well, anyway, his went down. And did your dog find yours?
No. Ethan's dog found mine.
Okay. See, we hunt with 2 dogs, and Ethan and Caleb both have their dogs. I'm running Ethan's dog while he's gone. But he found it, and then I shot mine, of course. It cartwheels to the ground, and I thought, oh, I got him this time. But we got up there, and there was no bird.
And we looked and looked. Finally, we got the dog sicked on it, and mine went on point like there's something big going on. And I went walking through there, and I didn't see it. So finally, I went right where that dog was pointing. I stepped down, and it kind of went squish, and then out it come.
Oh, you stepped right on the bird?
Yep, and it took off running. Then Ethan's dog caught it, brought it back to us.
Yeah, I looked over there, and all I saw was his Brittany, Ethan's Brittany. His name's Hank. He was jumping up in the air, and he had a hold of that bird as it was trying to jump up and fly. I had a broken wing, but it was trying to jump and fly, and he jumped up and kind of snatched it right there, and it was kind of something to see. He snatched my bird out. But, yeah, that's what you get for hunting 7.5 shot at probably 40 or 50 yards. It was. I think I had 2, 3 BBs in that bird.
Usually when I'm pheasant hunting, I usually load my 6 shot on top and then my 7.5, all the rest in case quail fly up. But
well, you're not hunting with a side-by-side when you pheasant hunt. What are you hunting with?
My Auto 5, Belgian made. That's my favorite pheasant and quail gun.
Which is the other gun in the thumbnail. But how many Auto 5s are you up to now?
I think I got 5.
Of the actual Belgian-made ones, or?
Oh, Belgian made, I got 3.
And what's the other 2?
Remingtons.
Oh, you have 2 Remington 11s?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And a Remington 11 is a really good gun. It seems to sell cheaper than the Auto 5. But what do you prefer, the Auto 5 or the Remington 11?
Auto 5. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of, just the way it feels better to me. Which Remington, I kind of like them too.
Let's get over here to the chat. I don't think we have any questions yet. If you guys got any gun questions, throw them out there. It don't have to be about hunting. It can be about anything. We got Loops Fox here. He's in. Of course, Snapper, Jeffrey Davis. Jeffrey Davis, would you go squirrel hunting with a brown bass, Caleb?
Yes, I have.
Matter of fact, that's at this point, that is literally, we go squirrel hunting usually in January and February every week, every Sunday. And I think you exclusively use the brown bass now, don't you?
That's what I've been using.
You don't use it anything else?
Other than my M1 Grand.
Yeah.
No, I haven't really, but this year I'll probably try my 20 gauge double barrel flintlock.
Yeah, you carried that once last year.
Yeah, I might have had it by then.
Yeah, you did at least once because you and me and Travis Pittman went out, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did have that then.
I don't ever see Travis in the chat. I'm going to have to get him on here someday. He's been my hunting buddy since we were old enough to get in trouble. And he actually has a little YouTube channel over there, Travis Pittman. But I have to get him on. Wild Snapper says, hey, guys and girls, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please do show your support for the 11 Bang Bang channel. Well, thanks, Snapper. Yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and hit like, that'd be a good deal. We've been talking about hunting here. And, of course, haven't really talked about Milsurp hunting. I don't think, with the exception of when I take my Winchester 94, I have ever hunted deer with anything that was not a Milsurp. Personally.
I never have either.
A couple times I've took my 7mm Remington Magnum, which I give to my dad, and it's his now. It has a really good scope on it. But I don't think I have ever hunted with anything that was not a Milsurp when it comes to deer, other than my 94 Winchester and that 7mm mag. How about you? Oh, I know you've hunted deer with the H&R single shots rifles.
Yeah, I guess I did.
What was your first deer hunting rifle that you took deer hunting?
Probably that single shot you had.
That was the H&R single shot.
Yeah, that was probably the first one I ever took.
And that was actually a scoped one too. That's a good rifle. I wish I still had it. I mean, you can legally hunt in Kansas. It was a 223, and you can legally hunt in Kansas now with the 223. You could then too, but it was bull barrel 223 with a scope on it, single shot, and it was really. I mean, you could lay down and flat out shoot. You want a headshot if you're using 223, of course, on a doe. You remember that?
Yep, that was fun.
What was your first rifle that you owned that you hunted deer with?
That would have probably been my Grand.
Your M1 Grand?
Uh-huh.
We were hunting a creek bottom one time, and I believe that was you and Ethan.
Yeah, I got one.
Had the double?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, I shot mine quite a ways. Well, Ethan shot his.
And Ethan, by the way, is hunting with an original Lee Enfield SMLE. Was it Mark 6?
I'm not
No,
sure.
Mark 4, whatever it is. He hunts with his SMLE Lee Enfield in 303. Also, by the way, that was what our grandpa hunted deer with. He hunted deer with an Issapor 308 Enfield rifle. But Ethan got into that, and so he has several Lee Enfields. But anyway, go ahead and tell us how that went down. You were in the creek bottom down there between two fields.
And we went a long little ways. We seen these deer. He picked out the doe he wanted. We shot it. He said, you want to help me carry this back? And I said, you're a man. You can carry your own deer. So I went stomping off where they ran off. And I went, it was quite a ways. I shot mine with my Grand. And Ethan
How did that shot placement go?
I saw a white flopping.
And you shot at the white.
Shot at the white.
And as I recall, it was a through and through from the back of that deer clear throughout the front shoulders.
Uh-huh. I carried that thing back to the pickup, and Ethan
How
was
far
already
was
there.
it?
That was quite a ways.
Well, about a mile. Ethan didn't even offer to help you, did he? I wonder why.
He already had. Well, he almost had his gear back by the time I got back.
Yeah, unspecified podcast and review says M39 Mosin for me. Actually, that was my very first deer hunting rifle. My grandpa.
That was your first rifle ever, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't very.
Yeah, but first, yeah, because Grandpa gave those to us when we were fairly young. He knew a guy that had a barrel of them. You know, you always hear people talk about the barrels of the M39 Mosins, and he had a barrel full of them. And I think my grandpa gave him $40 a piece and bought the whole thing. And this was probably back in the 2001 or 2. And of course, he told us, I was getting into my teenage years and really wanting to hunt then. And he came over to the house and he told my other brother and me, he said, I want you two to stand there and stare at that wall. We had no idea. And his grandpa said, do something. We just did it. We literally stood there and stared at that wall. And he went outside. He said, I'm going to be watching. He said, if you are not staring at that wall, he said, something bad's going to happen. So I stared at that wall. We stared at that wall. 2 hours later, he came back in and he said, I've been watching you talking to your parents through the window. He said, I decided that if you didn't look away from that wall for 2 hours, you were man enough to hold that responsibility that I gave you, even though you didn't know why. You're man enough to have these rifles. And he handed each of us a Mosin. And I was awfully glad I didn't look away from that wall. And that was my first Milsurp. Oh, my first rifle, period, really. I mean, I had shotgun before that. But I went out with my brother-in-law, and we went out and setting and out hunting. Had these 3 deer walk by. I was probably 14 at the time. I was just legal to hunt that. And he was with me, of course, and my brother-in-law was. He's older than me by about 8 years. He wasn't my brother-in-law yet. He was just a friend of mine. And we were out there in the timber, and we were sitting there waiting for the deer to come by. Well, here come by. I had an either sex tag, and here come by a smaller. He was a small doe, a medium-sized doe, and a big old buck coming right behind him. And he was chasing them. And they kind of come trotting by, and I raised up with that Mosin, and that trigger on that Mosin is a thing to behold. I remember I flinched so bad, and the gun didn't even go off. I thought I had it. And my brother-in-law sitting over there like covered up his mouth, tried not to laugh because I literally flinched so bad the gun went up like this and didn't even go off. And I was like, oh. And I looked back, I thought, well, I messed this up. And I looked back down. There were those 3 deer. And something inside of me, I don't know what it was. Instead of shooting that buck, I shot the smallest deer through and through. And it hit the ground really hard with that Mosin. I shot that deer. And looking back, I thought, why in the world didn't I shoot the buck? And I realized I think that was my first case of buck fever where I didn't shoot the buck. It must have been small doe fever because I shot the smallest deer out there. What's your first deer?
It was a little doe.
Yeah. But moving on, we've done a lot of that. And I've never flintlock hunted a deer. I'd like to. Deer season since those days around here has gotten incredibly hard to get into around here because even though our brother-in-law has the ground and we work the ground, just about everything is leased up by people with more money than us. And so we only get to hunt when doe season comes around nowadays. But it's still fun. What was your last deer you shot?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It might have been a doe. Yeah, it was a doe. I was with Adam, and he was ready to make jerky sticks. And he said, oh, I don't think you can hit that one right there.
With
and
what?
I said, oh, my grand.
Your M1?
Yeah. And I said, I bet I can. And he said, oh, yeah. I laid down, and I seemed like I shot it. It took 2 steps and just laid down.
Yeah, the last one I shot was that buck.
Oh, yeah?
I was actually carrying a 1917 Remington, the American version of the 1917 Enfield. That's my go-to hunting gun now. It's a Remington, and I told the boys we were hunting either sex tags that day, and I said, guys, we're not going to hunt any bucks.
Just here for does.
I said, we're just here to thin out this bad doe population today. And we were still hunting in the right season, of course, this time back then. And I told them, I said, we're not hunting any bucks. Well,
This big
about this time, this 8-point buck come up out of the timber, out of the draw, right in front of us.
All three of us were standing there beside each other. Both
I told the boys,
each other, like,
I just remember looking at that big buck in the eye, and I told the boys, I said, sorry.
After he said, don't shoot it, then all of a sudden you hear, whoa.
No, I said, sorry, guys, I got to do it before I did it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how that worked out that way, but that's what happens when you're the oldest brother, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. What about turkey hunting? I haven't done that in a long time. What's your turkey gun?
Out of 5.
You're out of 5.
That was the last thing I shot turkey with.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the last thing I shot a turkey with was.
Was it your fox?
No. It would have been the Tobin, I think. That Tobin Ethan has now. The GB Richards.
Why'd you end up using that?
I owned it at the time. Remember, I broke the firing pin on that hunt.
Oh.
The right-hand firing pin broke. I got the turkey with the left-hand barrel because I got a click, and then he kind of fluttered off a ways. We weren't calling. We were actually stalking and got lucky on him. Kind of sat down below a tree, and he came in. And we didn't even call him. He just came in. I got a click on my right front barrel, and he kind of fluttered out, and I got on the second barrel, and it turned out my firing pin was broke, after which I was kind of fed up with the gun, even though I got the turkey. And I sold it to Ethan, who immediately, he's pretty gun savvy. He made himself a firing pin for it, and he put it back in service. There's actually a video up on our channel on that gun. Not a lot of these guns that we're talking about today have videos. We need to get to that.
Yeah.
So you're just auto 5 and everything nowadays for antique guns.
Pretty much. Unless it's doves.
And then on doves you're using your Fox shotgun.
Yeah.
But we've had some pretty good turkey hunts. I remember I was with my buddy Travis one time. Probably shouldn't tell this story. When we were out hunting right before dark, right before legal ending, or right before you can't shoot anymore. And that sun was going down, and that turkey was peeking up, and we had the darkness to our backs, and he was in the sun as it was going down, and he'd peek up over there, and he could tell we were something, but he didn't know what we were. And I was hunting with a Tobin then, and Travis was hunting with a bolt action Stevens 20 gauge, I believe it was. Is that a Stevens? No, yeah. Mossberg. A bolt action Mossberg.
With no magazine.
Anyway, it had the magazine. That one did, because he had 2 shells. It only held 2, one in the chamber, one in the magazine. And I was going to let him take the shot, and he went ahead and took it, and he shot it, and he knocked it down. Of course, with the 20 gauge, it didn't kill it immediately, which a lot of times 20 gauge will, but this particular shot didn't. And he was really new to hunting at the time, and he ran up there with that 20 gauge, and he worked the bolt. Before I could stop him, he ran up there and he used the butt of the gun to hit the turkey in the head straight down like this, and that gun went off. And that was one of the scariest times I think that either of us have ever had. It was a negligent discharge. Really woke both of us up about gun safety. I mean, we were probably both 18 at the time. He was a little older than me, probably 19. But he seriously, after that, he took every breath he took with a gun very safely, because that was a scary one. That gun, that was a scary one, but it was a good hunt. We got the bird. Oh, the wild snapper said last time he went hunting, he got tore up by a cat that was wild. That seems like a scary story. And Unspecified podcast and review said, my first deer was a rabbit. Yeah, that's kind of how mine was, too. The smallest one out there. They are easier to carry out of the woods that way.
Yeah. Don't be the dummy that picks the biggest doe.
So what is your favorite flintlock for hunting, Caleb?
I don't know. I think that double barrel is going to become my favorite. Right now, my Brown Bess is, but I don't know. That original, whatever Ethan said that gun was, that might be pretty fun to hunt with. I've never tried it yet. The safety arms or whatever he called it.
Oh, the Committee of Safety or musket?
Yeah.
It is an original
Yeah.
Go back further than that. It's an original Revolutionary War musket. It's actually got a video coming up in a couple weeks on the channel. We are actually, for once, scheduled out to about February in our videos. Unless something comes up and I just get a wild hair and I make a video and throw it up real fast. Kind of like I did last night. We got 20,000 views overnight. I've never had that happen before. I don't know how that occurred with that video on the Single Action Army Hammer. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. So anyway, squirrel hunting has been, like I said, a staple of what we do. I want you to tell them about what your first squirrel rifle is, Caleb. I think they'll get a kick out of that.
First squirrel rifle. M1 Grand.
Yeah. We took our uncle to, actually he took us squirrel hunting, and Caleb didn't have anything smaller, but he'd always heard the old timers, because we was in the muzzleloader real big, he always heard the 30 caliber is the squirrel caliber, anything from 30 to 32. So Caleb took his 30-06.
One good thing about it, if you get them in a tree limb, you can cut the tree limb down if it's not too big.
You just keep hammering away with it with that M1 Grand. I remember he shot one of those squirrels out of that tree, and my uncle was laughing so hard we had the head. He took the head off. There was still meat, but he said he could see squirrel feathers.
Squirrel feathers.
Squirrel feathers. So from then on, anytime Caleb shot anything hunting, we were either shooting squirrel feathers or pheasant fur goes flying.
That reminds me of when I was hunting with my uncle one time. I had that M1 Grand, and we were walking through the trees, and he's looking at them squirrel nests, and he said, my Grandpa Don used to always wake them squirrels up, as he'd say. He'd shoot them nests, and they come flying out of there. I said,
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. I'll try that. Shot the nest, and that squirrel come flying out of there. He didn't know which way he went. He ran right up my uncle.
There's been some good squirrel hunting trips. I took it's an infield rifle from the Civil War, but somebody has bored it out to a smoothbore, 62 caliber smoothbore, and it's a cap lock, and it's original, and it's kind of rough. But actually, there's a video last year of me taking that thing squirrel hunting. But the first time I took it out, which wasn't on video, we packed it down. I think I loaded it with 50 grains of powder. I was shooting shot out of it, smoothbore and all. And I used a fiber wad, and then I put in a 50 grain measure of shot. So it'd probably be like a 28 gauge charge at that point, even though it's in a bigger barrel. Put my heavy lubed put my heavy lube wad over the top, kind of a Sky Chief load, a really light Sky Chief load. And we took that thing out there, and it was a cap lock, and I shot it, and something was up with everything not fitting tight, because it sounded like a blank, and it would throw them BBs out there like an airsoft gun. And I think later on I discovered that I needed a little bit larger than 62 caliber. If you ever boarded out, it'd gone a little wide at the back. Needed a little larger than 62 caliber wad to really pack down on that powder. But anyway, I shot it like that for the first hunt. And were you with me, Caleb, or was that Ethan?
We were all both with you, I think.
Well, I took out
one.
after this squirrel in this cottonwood tree, and the squirrel was up about, I would say he was up probably 30 yards in this big old cottonwood tree. And I'd shoot at him, and it sounded like a blank. I did this 2 or 3 times, and you could hear the BBs hitting the tree like it was raining. And this squirrel sitting up there screaming and hollering. not even, he knows, I guess I can't hurt him because he's not even hiding. He's just up there chittering away. And pretty soon he starts throwing bark at us. I think Caleb, was it you or Ethan? One of you snuck around the back of the tree with your flintlock and took care of him. But I've never had that happen. I threw a little bit of lead at this squirrel, and he threw bark back at me.
Well, he heard about people barking squirrels, and he didn't want anything to do with that.
He was literally throwing stuff back. But anyway, like I said, I got that load worked up pretty good in that gun, and actually did a squirrel hunting video last winter. I think it's called Squirrel Hunt with an Antique Mystery Musket. It's a pretty good video. It's actually a hunting video. Ethan yells at me the whole time. He's running the camera. He said, "There's a squirrel over there." And of course, I'm out in front of him because I got the gun. And I spin around and look. And by the time I go to spin around, of course, squirrel's always gone off the ground. And he'll say, "No, he's over there." And I'm like, "If you would quit yelling, I might be able to get a squirrel for the camera." I think we finally got one. And I said, "That's it." We shut the camera off and called it a video.
Okay, Garrett, what was your most impressive squirrel shot?
Probably the last one I took. That
Which one
would
was
be about a 45-yarder with the brown bess and shot, which it's a cylinder bore gun, so it's really a difficult thing to...
No, you did it with your Northwest trade gun, remember?
Yeah, not the brown bess, Northwest trade gun. That's what I meant. Yeah, and I'd had some trouble because that gun for me shoots really low, like 2 feet. Now I've had to learn to get my face up way higher. And it's been a whole kind of different learning experience with that Northwest trade gun for me. Shoots right on for Ethan and Caleb, but for some reason I shoot low. Maybe I'm flinching. I don't know. I'm not a flintlock expert. But anyway, I have missed squirrel after squirrel, even with shot with that thing. And so I finally got on one last year with it. And I took him out I'd say about 40 yards or so, and I actually got my head up just enough, and I got that down. Brought that squirrel down out of that tree. I was so happy I finally got a flintlock squirrel kill. But I know where you're heading with this. You want me to ask you what your most impressive squirrel kill was. Okay, Caleb, let me indulge you. Caleb, what was your most impressive squirrel kill?
Oh, really? You want me to tell you?
Oh, who would ever thought?
Yeah. Probably that one with my 50. What would you say that was, about 70 yards or something?
Oh, it's over 100 yards down at Mom's.
It's
about 110 yards from that tree to the back door.
I told him, I said, "Watch this. There's no way."
Okay. First of all, tell them what gun it is, so that they know.
50 caliber Hawken, the CBA.
Yep, and it is a tack driver. What was your charge? You remember?
I think I might have been using 60 grains behind that. Those Lee
real bullet? No, it was a.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not. It was a.
It was
166 twist mini ball, special mini ball for a fast twist barrel.
Boy, and I said, "I'm going to shoot that squirrel. I know I'm not going to get it, but here I go."
Okay, get this. He walks out Mom and Dad's side door. They have some property down the road. I said, "We saw this squirrel chittering around up in this tree, and it is 100 miles. It is 100 yards to the edge of that fence line from the house. That's always been what we've known. That's kind of always been our 100-yard target." And he steps out on Mom and Dad's deck, and the tree is about 10 yards behind the fence line. So you're looking at 110 yards without going up, and you can just barely see this tree. This squirrel way up in the top of this tree. Caleb looks over at me and he says, "I bet I can shoot that." I said, "There is no way you can shoot that." So he laid down there with his Hawken CBA. You want to tell the rest of the story, Caleb?
Yeah, I even did offhand. I thought, there's no way I'm going to hit this thing.
Set triggers.
I squeezed the back trigger, and then that front trigger just kind of tickled it, and it went off. I said, "Nope, I didn't get him." About that time, he just tumbled out, and I was like,
Perfect headshot, by the way. I think Caleb was more surprised than the squirrel was.
Yeah.
So he went and picked it up, and we headed back in. That's about the time Mom came out and said, "Hey, I want to show you boys. I have some pet squirrels been running around them trees down there." Mom's squirrel. Caleb put the squirrel behind his back and did not mention it until now. Hi, Mom. I hope you're out there.
That's why I kept saying shh on where we did it.
But no, I think that was more of a fluke. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a good shot. You're a good shot.
I don't think I could do it again.
It was impressive.
That's when you realize when you really love a gun.
Yeah, Unspecified Podcast says chopping limbs and getting squirrels. That's awesome. Yeah, you want to talk about chopping limbs? Tune in tomorrow morning at 7:30 Central on the 11 Bangbang channel. There will be a hunting video put up. Probably not the kind of hunting video that you're thinking of, but limbs will be chopped. That's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on in here. Done a lot of hunting. Almost all spot and stock. I never really hunted in a stand because like I said, there's a lot of hunters around here, and getting your days in, you have to ask them permission and kind of hunt when they're gone. That's kind of how we've always done it. Well, in recent years, we have to, we pay a little, ask when they're gone, go out and do our hunting and get back. Don't, of course, use their stands. So we always hunt, even on our own ground. I think we always hunt spot and stock. I've always done it that way. It seems like a lot more fun to me.
Me too.
Setting. What would you take if we get a chance to go out this January for doe season? What are you gonna take?
I've been thinking about this. I think I want to try my brown bass.
What's your load gonna be?
I'll probably do a 69 caliber round ball with 130 grains.
Are you gonna patch it, or is this gonna be bare ball?
Bare ball.
With wasp nest?
Yeah, probably. I figured out bare ball seems like the way to go.
Go ahead.
Either that, or I was thinking about that Committee of Safety's musket. But more than likely, I've done more shooting with that brown bass, so I might just take it.
Yeah. I'm going to go, if I get a chance to go, I'm going to take my Lyman the Great Plains this year. I've only got to shoot the thing once. We've made a whole video on it. Caleb's put like 30 rounds through it, and it's my rifle, left-handed, and I've only got to shoot it once.
Okay, guys, when these lefties say I hate percussion and flintlocks, they're right-handed, I figured out why when I shot that. It's all kind of different.
It's right there in your face, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not as bad on cap locks as flintlocks, but on flintlocks, that whole explosion, if you're left-handed shooting a right-handed gun, that whole explosion right there. So, yeah, I'm in the market to get a left-handed flintlock. Never had one. I would love to have one just for the experience because
just get you a double barrel.
I love left-handed cap locks. Yeah, double barrel seems to work for you. I mean, that would be the same thing. Yeah. Your double barrel has two locks, one on each side. It doesn't seem to bother you too bad.
Yeah.
Have you killed a squirrel with that double barrel yet? I know that's the only time you've took it hunting.
Yeah, I think I did that day. I did get one. So I was actually using a 60 caliber round ball. I think I kind of barked him.
Yeah. What's it shoot like, left or? I've never actually shot it. What's it shoot like? You have to hold left or right when you're trying to use round ball instead of shot? Or does it pretty well pattern almost the same spot?
It patterns pretty much the same spot, what I can tell.
Is it pattern high or low?
No, it's pretty on for me, but that might be different for other people.
Yeah, guys, we need to get a video hopefully on that coming up this spring. Hopefully if Ethan can make it. He might have a chance to come home for a few more days yet before he leaves the country. He still hasn't completely left the country. And if he does, we'll try to get that double barrel flintlock out because that is an awesome gun.
Yeah.
We never have got it. Well, Snapper said there must have been no squirrel left after being shot with an M1 Grand. No, he's always been a pretty good shot, Caleb has. He usually takes the head clear off, maybe front part of the shoulders. Unspecified podcast and review. I would really like to try to hunt with my old trusty 1851 Navy Pieta. Of course, I'm sure others don't like that. Any chance on recapping your take on the well, okay. Well, that's two things. Let's cover them one at a time here. We have attempted to do a cap and ball revolver squirrel hunt before because Caleb can actually pull that off, and I can too. If the shot is just right with my 51 Navies, I can pull off a squirrel kill at 15 yards maybe. And we've attempted it before. On the day, nobody's going to believe me, but on the day we went out to film, we did not see a single squirrel. When we went out with our pistols and filmed that, you remember that?
Yeah.
Our dream, at least mine, I think, Caleb, I've talked to you about this. What I would love to have for a squirrel hunting cap and ball pistol would be a 1862 Pocket Police with a 6-inch barrel. Now we have them with I think it's a 5-inch barrel or 4.5, but you could get a 36 caliber ball in a super light little container. And when you go squirrel hunting, you're stomping around, being free to put your gun on your hip and not carry a long gun. That's kind of, I enjoy that. I really do. And when you see the squirrel, you can get your gun out, and just kind of not encumbered by a big large gun. And I believe that if you wait around until about January, keep checking the channel, we will have a video up, hopefully, on cap and ball squirrel hunting. What would you take, Caleb?
I'm a 61 Navy.
Yeah.
Or I kind of been thinking about taking that Model 2. You got a lot of stuff to reload it with.
The Smith & Wesson Model 2?
Yeah, I think that'd be an all right
30.
one.
Is that 32 rimfire? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That would be all right, but I think you would do a lot better with your 61 Navy because it's got a longer barrel and cap and ball load. But yeah, I would really like the 62 Pocket Police because it is a 5-shot 36, but it's really small and really long if you get the right barrel length. We have the game. We should just order the longer barrel.
Let's say, what happened if you tried one of those other long barrels, like on the 61 Navy or something? Would it work or not?
No, I don't think so because the frame of the 62 Pocket Police is the same frame as the 49 Pocket Model. It's just the cylinders rebated, or as Duke calls it, belted for 36. So I think you'd have to get your own barrel for that to fit that frame.
I didn't know how that worked. You're kind of the Colt guy, so I figured you'd know.
Yeah, 6-inch barrel. Okay, but getting on to recapping the Alec Baldwin video. That thing went viral overnight for us. I think it's up to 25,000 views. We've never had it. We have a 51 Navy video. It's got 30,000 views. It's been out for 8 months. This one did 20,000+ overnight and brought in 150 subscribers. I didn't even mean to. I literally sat down. Ethan actually texted me and said, "Did you see this?" and sent me a link to just a small portion of the interview where he's talking about the hammer falling. And he said, as a Colt guy, you ought to have something to say about that. And I thought, well, I've stayed out of politics and I've stayed as best I can out of this Alec Baldwin deal the whole time because I didn't know all the ins and outs. And it seems like these things, when it gets to court or somewhere else, you always find out something you didn't know beforehand, and we will here. But I really found it hard to believe that the Pieta-made revolver would just drop the hammer unless something has been done. Now, a lot of people in the comments have pointed out to me that it's possible that the trigger spring could have broken. I didn't think of that. I should have. It's happened to me a lot of times. But the trigger return spring might have broke, and the trigger, of course, will be just flopping around and not connect to the sear in any way. But when it has happened to me, unless the gun is pointed at like a 45 up angle, or you're pulling on the trigger physically, the trigger, at least on my guns, it's happened twice that I can think of that I broke the trigger return spring. And it never seems to break the bolt side. It always breaks the trigger side. And when that happens, the trigger almost, on my guns, of course, and I'm talking Pieta cap and ball revolvers is what happened on both times, not on my single action army. But the trigger tends to be designed heavy enough that it swings to the front. And so every time it's happened to me, the hammer has still caught on the cock notch. And I won't know it till I feel a really light trigger pull. And then I'll be like, oh, okay. However, that being said, the sheriff down there in New Mexico has already said this gun would have had to have been manipulated perfectly for it to go off. This gun did not go off by itself. And he has had the ability to look at the gun, and I believe he would know if it was broken or not. Once again, that comes down to negligence, because if the trigger was not, here's the thing, on a single action army, if your trigger spring is broken and it's not engaging the hammer, how are you going to load it without knowing it? Because you got to go to half cock to load it. You would literally have to hold the hammer back at just the right spot the whole time you were loading it. But anyway, that's what some people pointed out, and I will grant you that is a possibility. I don't think it happened there, or people would have already been a really big thing. But yeah, I think it's almost 99.9% chance that he pulled that trigger. Probably didn't even. Okay, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't even know he pulled that trigger. Probably. My bet is I said in the video, I think he probably cocked it with his finger on the trigger and didn't even know he pulled it, because the triggers on those are very light. Either that, or he went to draw it, because in one part of the interview he says I was practicing his cross draw, and then in another part of the interview he said he wasn't practicing his cross draw. So who knows what the truth is? But I think he was pulling back on the trigger at the same time he pulled back on the hammer, and basically had a fanning situation going on. Maybe he never physically knew he pulled the trigger, but and a lot of people who are on the comments saying, well, if he had the trigger pulled back before he started, he didn't technically pull the trigger. My thoughts on that are, if you pull, quotation marks, the trigger to hold it back, you have pulled the trigger. Whether it happens before you cock the hammer, or as you cock the hammer, or after you lock the hammer and then pull the trigger, the act of pulling the trigger is still the same. So I think he did it. They're going to take what they're going to do is he's trying to deflect. The only trouble I have with that is when he deflects, he's going to deflect it towards Pieta. And Pieta right now is the only one consistently putting out a 4-click hammer. Uberti still does it for Cimarron on their old models, but Pieta still puts out a 4-click hammer. And if he gets his crummy little lawyers over there and starts suing, or they can't import because this gun is not safe anymore, that will be the end of the 4-click hammers in the United States, unless you're willing to shell out, $2,500 for a CZ Colt product. And I did not want to see that. I love the 4-click replicas. I like originals, of course. I don't personally own an original single action army. Brother-in-law has that kind of stuff over there, and Snapper does. I've played with them. I've fooled around with them quite a little bit, but I don't personally own one. And it's because they're so expensive. I will probably get one probably relatively soon. But I've always shot Blackhawks. I've always shot Pietas, Ubertis. I love those guns. And the 4-click hammer is the reason to have them, And I would hate to see those 4-click hammers go because some idiot pulled the trigger and then let the hammer go. Or cock the hammer and, like I said, pull the trigger. It had to happen that way. But, yeah, there is a possibility that somebody had went ahead and cut the front of the trigger off, made it a slip gun, because, that it's a movie set. People do that kind of thing. Think Chuck Connors in The Rifleman. He had a screw set inside of his lever on his lever action rifle so that when he worked it real fast, it would go off. So that's very possible somebody was doing that on a movie set to make that gun that much faster. It's very possible, I guess, the trigger spring broke, but like I said, in my experience, it still usually catches, and it would be extremely hard to load if the trigger spring was broke. Yeah, he's just deflecting. And in the end, the people who are going to pay for his mistake are going to be that woman and her family, because, of course, they've already paid for his mistake. And all of us who enjoy and responsibly use the replica single-action armies with the 4-click hammers, which, by the way, are way safer than people say they are. Like I said, on a video that got 20,000 views, I got some really strange comments. People telling me that the Blackhawk, that they can literally, they had an uncle or someone who had a Blackhawk, a Ruger Blackhawk, in the carry case with the hammer down, picking it up with both hands on either side of the case, and the gun is so dangerous it went off and shot him in the leg. I heard that. Heard one guy talking about how many times he'd shot his washer with a Pieta remake, and I'm like,
well, you shouldn't have it if you're doing that many times, huh?
I'm like,
go get one.
Guys, I think the internet propaganda has gotten to a lot of people on this, and that's why I've been encouraging Wild Snapper and anybody else I can to get out there and make a video. If you guys have a single action army, I know, and you probably don't want to get on YouTube, but just if you want to get on YouTube and try to make a video, if you're not already making videos, get your cell phone out, film the safety work, film like Snapper did, film how that hammer stops. Show people, show the world these guns are not as unsafe as people are trying to make them out to be. There's going to be a full-out attack on the guns that people who watch this channel, like you, love. And we've always kind of been, ignored and pushed to the background because we were just the old fuds who were shooting the old guns. Well, I would not be surprised if you don't see an import ban on these guns that demands they have the 3-click hammer or some other form of safety device. They already have to have a form of safety device on them. The Ubertis with the 4-click hammer still have at least mine does, they have to have the cylinder pin that goes all the way through, and you can screw it in and lock the gun where it won't fire. They already have to have that. The whole reason Heritage does the safety is because of lawyers. I mean, if it wasn't for somebody probably complaining, you could have had these cheap Heritage Rough Rider revolvers, probably even cheaper than they are now. Perfect Colt clones, almost, with no, of course, they wouldn't have the hammer mounted firing pin, but they wouldn't have that safety on the side. And they are going to come after the guns that you and I love, and they're going to use Alec Baldwin's going to be the one that does it. So you guys, any of you got a cell phone that you can record and you already got a YouTube account, hit that little upload button, make a video on how this gun is safe. And for the last 75 to 100 years, people have been putting out this nonsense about, I get it, you should carry 5. But I'm convinced now, and Snapper has convinced me, that safety has always been, that safety notch has always been an okay thing to use. I really think it has.
Well,
it's probably not best to use, but Snapper's going to put a video out on that pretty soon, so I'm not going to step into his territory. I still will carry just 5 because that's the way I was trained. But it's feeding into the story that these guns are very dangerous, antiquated, blow your leg off every time. Okay, I'm going to rant here, but I want you guys to go out there and dig in the books. I got a big pile of Colt books over there, big pile. I mean, big pile. And not to mention all my internet sources and everything else. I've spent 2 years digging for the source. I found one guy that claimed he got shot in the leg when the stirrup fell, and it was reported, but it was never officially logged anywhere. It's not an official story. It's just a story of a guy who wrote that. That's the only story I found of these guns actually hurting somebody. Grant you, if you leave that hammer down on the firing pin, on the primer, you're asking for trouble. It's the same as carrying a modern shotgun with the safety off everywhere you go. It's just like anything else. Take your 870, you throw that thing in the truck, you got a truck shotgun. How many people carry one in the chamber with the safety off? It would be insane. But some people do it, and some people shoot themselves. Same thing with the single action army. It's no more dangerous than any other gun out there, and we need to get out there and prove to people that these guns are still safe, viable, actually home defense weapons, and in common use in the United States of America, and they can't mess with us. Okay, I'm done with that rant. I don't know how I got off on all that. Hi, Duke. Oh, sorry you had to catch all that. Hi, Cash EDC. Hey, Cash. Stay tuned. Everybody over there, Cash EDC is the AK guy. And I want him to stay tuned up there in the next few weeks. We have a very special Cash EDC special dedication video coming out. He doesn't know it yet, of course, but I'm really excited for this to come out. Ethan was the one that made it. It's actually 2 videos put together that I'm really excited for this one to come out. I don't know exactly when it'll be out, but there will be a Cash EDC video dedicated to him and just about his kind of stuff coming out pretty soon. And Duke's in. Hey, did anybody else check out the Remington rolling block video over on Duke's channel where we about killed him? We had an issue. All brand new casings, never fired. Well, 4 of them had been fired. We shot them the very first 4 we shot. Brand new casing, never been fired, had a case head split. And luckily, the rolling block is designed very well, and it will hold everything in except that powder, and it did. It flashed Duke's face. But you got to be really careful if you're shooting 43 Spanish. Some of the brass you get nowadays, you better check it thoroughly, even if it's brand new, because you could have a case split. Kelp, you got anything to say about your 43 Spanish about killing Duke?
I didn't know what happened there for a little bit.
Have you seen the video?
Yeah.
I like that slow motion.
I fast forward to the part where it went off because I wanted to see it.
Yeah, you wanted to see what it looked like in slow motion?
Uh-huh. I had to go to work. It's the only reason I didn't watch the whole thing through.
Yeah. I don't think you've missed much, Garza. We've just been talking about hunting and hunting with different antique firearms and Milsurps and muzzle loaders. And, of course, we're not done talking about that yet. Still got some more ground to cover. Okay, Caleb, you're going to take a Flintlock pistol deer hunting. What are you going to take? If you
Flintlock? A
did.
Flintlock.
Flintlock pistol deer hunting.
I got Queen's Anne's I never tried out yet.
Well, I don't know if you could get deer stopping power out of that.
I don't know.
What have you determined what the caliber of that Queen Anne's is? They're supposed to be 50, but you think it's not?
No, Ethan was saying it was 50. Well, he wasn't sure, but he said that's what most of them were. So I dropped a 53 caliber round ball, and it rolled down pretty loose. Seemed like a 60 fit just about right, so it's probably like a 58 or 59 maybe. But
how many grains of powder?
I'm not sure. It kind of has where you load it in the breech when you unscrew the barrel. So
You haven't shot it yet, I take it.
Nope, I haven't done a whole lot to it yet. Just got curious what caliber it was. But I don't know. My Dragoon pistol might be the one. That's the main Flintlock pistol I really have. That's very powerful.
Not the Highlander, not the Murdoch.
That'd be all right
If you could hit anything.
if you could hit anything with it.
I wouldn't take a Flintlock per se pistol. I guess. I don't know. I'm not very good at flintlocks. I'll be the first to admit it. I flinch, and I mean, I can shoot them, I guess. But if I had to take a flintlock, it'd be that one behind you.
Oh, Noah's.
Yeah, back there behind you is it. Noah's got the Traditions Kentucky, and for a cheap little flintlock rifle that he bought, that thing has a super fast lock time and is really accurate. 50 caliber. It's got a 1 in 66 twist, so it's really good with round ball. And I think he should try to go for a deer with that. I would love to see him get that pulled off.
What about Ethan's 58 caliber Hawken?
Oh, Duke said, you know what, Caleb? He said it's not the brass. Duke said it was the failing of the gun. It was probably that new. Okay, I hope Duke's talking about. Okay, Duke says it's a failing of the gun. It was probably that new 3-click hammer that has no safety notch, but still has to have the trigger depressed. You know, I was talking. He's talking now. I thought he was talking about something else. He's talking about the Baldwin shooting. I'm not going to go back on that rant again, but my question: do Piettas even ship with a 3-click hammer? I don't think they do. I think they have a frame-mounted firing pin gun, but isn't the floating firing pin 3-click hammer a Uberti thing? You guys out there answer. I think it is. You guys can answer me. Yeah, Wild Snapper says Colt said they use a safety notch in all their advertising on the single action army up to the 1940s. Yeah, and that is clear through the entire run of the first generation guns. So, I mean, I used to be just like anybody else and say never use the safety notch. I'm not so sure anymore. I don't, because I'm comfortable with 5. I mean, and I always will be. But you know, to each their own. Especially if I've yet to find the official documented case of somebody being shot by the gun when they had it on the safety notch and not the hammer on the primer. Like I said, I found the one it's not really documented. I found one guy claiming that it happened, and that's about it. It's not a documented source at all. Wild Snapper in my Flintlock British Sea Service pistol, I shot steel and it hit it so hard. Is that a 62? Yeah, this big. They'll definitely give a Walker a run for its money and some.
Garrett and me discussed that once.
Oh yeah, the original. I think when the Walker came out as a handgun, it was compared to the Patterson, it was big, but compared to everything else, it was medium to large. Because everything else was the single shot pistols that were shooting really big rounds anywhere from 50 to 62s, and even bigger sometimes in European countries. Single shot flintlock pistols were nothing to be sneezed at if you could hit anything with them because they were mostly smooth bore.
Hence why they're made like the flag.
Don't worry, Dick. It's all right. You know, I was telling them I've never had a video do what that one I uploaded yesterday did. I got 20,000 views overnight. And that of all the videos I've made, I mean, I've had a few people actually report it to YouTube because the fact that I'm saying that the single action army is safe, to them that is unsafe. And I've actually been reported a couple times now for spreading unsafe practices by saying that the single action army is safe. And that kind of killed the video, I think, because it immediately kind of dipped off. But yeah, before that, I got 20,000 views overnight. And if they take that video down because it was reported, it won't hurt my feelings too bad, because that was the least amount of work I think I ever put into a video. I just literally sat down. I didn't try to use the gun before I started recording. I didn't know what would even happen. I mean, I figured it would catch on the half cock, but when I sat down, I just started recording and just started, and away it went. So I guess if they take it down, it's no big loss. But yeah, I have been reported for being unsafe by saying that the single action army is safe. I don't know how that all works, but I just know people in the comments told me they reported me. So anyway, moving on. Cap lock pistols, single shots. Some of my favorites. I really do enjoy a single shot cap lock pistol. I'd love to hunt with a single shot cap lock pistol, and I've actually made one before out of different stuff. Made the stock, and I had an old barrel that I blew up. Well, I swelled it, and a UCAR barrel, and I cut down, made a pistol. I still have the front half of that UCAR barrel. It's about 16 inches long, and I would love to take it down to about 12 inches. Put it in a nice little maple stock, make a pistol with a cap lock on it, a left-handed cap lock. I'd have to re-drill. Of course, I'd have to drill and tap the barrel on the left-hand side and make a 12-inch long 45 caliber pistol that would take a decently heavy load. I could load it up to probably 70 grains and make a single-shot deer hunting pistol. I think that would be awesome. It'd be fairly long. You know, by the time you get the grip on it, you'd have a gun that was probably 14 inches long. But that would be cool, I think. What do you think, Caleb? Should we build a single-shot cap lock pistol with a long barrel?
Sounds like a lot of work.
Well, you're the guy with the lathe.
Oh, yeah? That's why I said that.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to round it or leave it octagon?
I would leave it octagon. Just leave that barrel the exact same way it is. Put a... I would probably try to barrel band it somehow instead of the pins. I hate those pins. Yeah. I hate driving pins in and out.
And I'd hate to have to line them up to drill the hole in the stock.
Either that, or I would like to put wedges in it, or a wedge in it, like a Hawkins style wedge.
Yeah.
And to do that, we would just have to solder on or dovetail in the wedge on the bottom of the barrel, and then dovetail in a front and rear sight that's adjustable for drift. Yeah. Maybe get a sight that's adjustable for elevation. I think that would be awesome, really. And try to take it deer hunting. Deer hunt with a cap lock pistol. I think that would be awesome. Well, Snapper says, getting reported for showing and telling the truth sounds like victory. I hope it was. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care if the video doesn't get that many more views, other than the fact that I want everybody out there that's got a single action army right now to put out a video completely debunking this junk that says these guns are unsafe. I'm so sick of hearing about how unsafe the single action army is. It's as safe as any gun out there. Like I said, how many people go around shoot themselves in the leg with a 12 gauge 870 that they didn't put on safety, getting in and out of the pickup, crawling over a fence? Happens all the time. And yet nobody considers the 870 unsafe. But if somebody leaves a single action army with the hammer down on the primer and hits it and it goes off because it was not on the safety, all of a sudden we got 50 to 100 years of people telling us how unsafe these guns are, when in reality it's a bunch of idiots. Sorry, that's just how I feel about it.
And if it was so unsafe, how come they used them so long?
Yeah, and still using it and still producing them.
Yes.
All right, we're back off that rant again.
How many times are you going to get on it?
I don't know. I didn't even think about it until yesterday morning, really, because I didn't know anything about it until I heard him say that he dropped the hammer and the gun just went off.
Yeah, when you told me that, I kind of had the same feelings you did, I think.
Anyway, what do you think about bird hunting with the blunderbuss, Caleb?
Never done it yet, but you have.
Yeah, I've been out hunting with it with a blunderbuss.
I shot clay with it once.
You know how many birds I've gotten with that gun? Do you know how many birds I've shot with that gun?
None?
Exactly. Oh, the blunderbuss is a whole different story, a whole different ball game when it comes to actually trying to hunt a bird with it.
Actually, your nephew said he wants to go quail hunting with that.
Well, maybe a covey of quail, you might be able to get lucky and get a few in that pattern, but that is a wide pattern.
You better get them at the start.
Actually, one of the favorite guns that I've took hunting once and never again, and I should have, is that Cimarron 1878 double barrel right there. It's actually Caleb's. I owned it, and then I sold it to him because I wanted an original Winchester. But anyway, it's somehow managed to be over at my house right there. It's a Cimarron 1878. I took it quail hunting with my uncle about 8 years ago. And
you got quite a few that day, too.
Yeah, that gun is a really good quail gun, even with the cylinder bores. Of course, with quail getting up in a big covey right in front of you, you know. And it was really cold that day, and so they were sitting tight. And we had a couple of really good dogs back then. We had
Ace
and Jasmine. Ace, Jasmine, Lily, and what was the other one? Now I can't even remember his name.
I can't either.
Ace, Jasmine, Lily, and my uncle had another male dog, Trigger.
Oh, I thought he called it Dum Dum.
Yeah, Dum Dum was his name. Trigger wasn't the best. Ace was really good. Jasmine was okay because she was my dog. She would, a German short hair, she would hunt right at your feet and never get. She wasn't real wild. She wouldn't get too far away from you. She would literally hunt right at your feet. And I really like that on a cold day because those birds will set and she won't bust them way ahead of you. And that was just the perfect storm of circumstances to take that little short 1878 Cimarron double barrel into because the range was good for it, even though it spreads fast. 2 barrels with hammers. Hammers didn't bother me one bit. Been hunting with single shot hammer guns for a long time. And that's just a double barrel version of it. And we really cleaned up. I think we probably got, between the two of us that day, probably brought in 15 quail. That was a bag limit for both of us pretty much. And the Cimarron double barrels are good guns to shoot with and Duke can probably attest to this, and I don't know what his experiences are, but in my experiences, you cannot feed that thing aluminum shells. You can feed it Winchester double A's really well with the low brass shells, or anything really with brass, but the cheaper aluminum shells, you'll break your knee trying to get that thing to work because you'll have to keep it open over your knee. What's your experience? Go with that, Caleb.
I have a question. How come when a covey of quail flies up, we all pick the same one? There's 20 quail going in every single direction, and we all decide to shoot the same
Well, I can tell you why that is, Caleb. The covey of quail flies up. 3 of us shoot. 1 bird falls. Of course, we were all aiming at that bird. What do you expect? That was exactly the one I was aiming at. Was the same one you were aiming at.
Well, it seems like it's always the same way. It's always like we all shoot at the same exact time.
Well, I think we all shoot at the same exact time, and you probably hit something, and Ethan and I claim it.
No, I don't think that's
that thought never even crossed your mind?
Yeah, there's been a couple times when you think you shot a bird, and then someone else says, I got it.
Duke says, did you all test my new guns on birds yet? No, we haven't. They have not left that spot since we chatted the other day. They're right behind me on the couch, right there. I don't know if you want us to. We could probably even film it. Have to wait till after deer season, maybe next week. Caleb, you want to take out Duke's?
I'll take his his
Auto 5. We made a discovery, Duke. We made a discovery.
Should I tell him?
Go ahead.
Well, anyways, I got to looking at my Remington made Auto 5. I was like, man, this thing looks awful lot like Duke's. But mine says Remington on the tang.
And a lot of times the Brownings won't say anything except for up on the barrel. So that's why we assumed it was a Browning.
Or sometimes
and it was advertised as a Browning. But it's not a Browning. It's also not a Remington Model 11. What Duke has back there, I can point to it. Everything's backwards in the camera right there. That we even said it was an Auto 5 because the people at the gun auction said it was a Belgian-made Auto 5 because it fit the characteristics, except that we knew it didn't have a shell stop on a magazine tube cutoff like most Auto 5s, but some of them didn't have it either, especially some of the earliest ones. And the serial number dated it to, and I haven't even told Duke this yet. I tried to call him, he didn't answer. The serial number back there dates to, I think 1922 for the Belgian-made Auto 5s, and so everything made sense. The part where the would be written on the barrel is got a little pitting on it, and it's really hard to read. So the people at the auction assumed it was an Auto 5. We assumed it was a Belgian-made Auto 5, and then Caleb found it on the tang. Or is it on the tang on this one?
No, it was on mine. That's why I didn't recognize that was a Remington, because I looked on the tang and didn't see it.
Yeah, and it has no markings, but we finally found a marking on it that said a Remington product, but it does not say Remington Model 11. So I finally looked it up, and what Duke has back there is the very first year, 1905, Remington auto-loading shotgun. It's almost a prototype. It's a pre-Remington Model 11 because after they went to Remington UMC, they named the gun the Remington Model 11. But this is 1905, very first year production, Remington auto-loading shotgun. And yeah, Duke, if you're listening, sorry about that. It's not a Belgian-made gun. It's probably worth more than a Belgian-made gun. It's absolutely the earliest Remington I have ever seen. And
yeah, my Remington was a 1910 or something, and it looks just like that one, kind of.
I'm gonna slide over here, maybe see if I can. Whoa, my cords don't get too long. Talk to him, Caleb.
So, and also the safety inside the trigger, I think that's kind of a Remington deal when it's right there, because all my Belgian-made ones are at the end of the trigger guard. That one's kind of in the middle. Now, I might be wrong on that. That's just what I noticed.
Okay, up here where the pitting is on this thing, airsoft, by the way. I don't know if you can read it. It's pitted, and usually that is where, on almost all Remington Model 11s, it'll say Remington Model 11 on the tang. Mine does. Caleb's does. Remington Model 11. This one has none. You don't see anything on a Browning a Belgian-made Auto 5. That's why we assumed that, and the people at the auction did too. But up here, if you look up here in the pitting, it says, it's really hard to read, Browning's patent, October 9th, 1900, December 17th, 1901, September 30th, 02, June 16th, 03. And that is actually the same patent numbers and words that would be stamped on a Belgian-made Auto 5. But right up there in the pitting, you can barely see Ilion, New York, USA. You can't even see the Remington name because it's fairly old and it's been, I don't know if you can see it anyway. It's right there. So everybody, including the experts at the auction, assumed this was a Belgian-made Auto 5. But in reality, this is a very, very early first-year production Remington auto-loading shotgun, pre-Model 11. So that's really cool. And sorry, Duke, if we really messed you up on that, but we were kind of going by what the auction people told us. You got a Crock Broccoli has a 1901 Winchester 1897, Caleb. Going back to Duke's gun. This is a 1902 airsoft in 16 gauge. I'm just showing off Duke's guns now. These aren't ours, these are Duke's. And it has a little trouble with the hammer following the slide, but I'm going to get in there hopefully and get a look at that before I get it up to Duke. And yeah, so here in 1902. If you want to see a 12 gauge 1897 in action, tune into the hunting video in the morning.
Yeah, you can see a Remington in action too.
And a Sega 12. It's kind of us going on a special hunt with all our home defense shotguns. It turned into a really good video.
You didn't tell me it was home defense until we got there.
So Caleb's home defense shotgun is a Remington 870, 3.5-inch chamber, 12 gauge, with a extension and a 30-inch barrel. Because he has no hallways in his home. Doesn't even have a closet. Does have a nail, but that's it. Oh, but yeah, he didn't take that one with him. He took his Remington 11 with the short barrel.
I'd use my Remington 11 for home defense for that other one anyways.
Caleb Duke's saying that you need to take that Remington out there, that Auto 5 out there, and get a bird so he knows it'll do his job. You think you can handle that?
I can sure try.
It'll break your heart.
It'll be hard work, but I'll try.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be sad.
Sound like Little Rascals. Okay. Okay, we'll have to give that a go. I'll try to put the GoPro on and see if we can film it if you don't mind. We need to film some hunting. We're back to hunting with flintlocks right now, but everything gets so dry this time of year. We don't generally take flintlocks, pheasant, and quail hunting because we're usually in the big dry grass.
The first snow I'm going to.
First snow, we've done it before out in fresh cut soybean fields before when we know that we can shoot out over the soybean fields out of the grass. I think I'll take that cap lock at some point, that infield cap lock, that original smooth bore out and try it sometime this year.
That's cheating.
Why? It's still a muzzle loader.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I'm going to be like Wilford Brimley. I would take a flintlock, but I'm not a very good shot. If you want to watch hunting, go out there and watch Ethan hunt. He was good. Before he went to the Army, when he came back, he was knocking doubles down left and right. And I don't know what they taught him out there that worked so well, but he can take 2-3 birds out of the sky in a fly usually.
He claims it was his shotgun.
What was that? Oh, it's the shotgun so good.
Uh-huh.
He always wants to take that synthetic Sega 12, which is an AK-47 and 12 gauge. And it has detachable box magazines. And I tell him, he got mad because I finally put my foot down and told him, I'm going out here to feel like I'm an old timer hunting with an old wooden steel gun. And you're going to bring that piece of plastic junk out here every time we hunt.
It's not like you don't have any wood.
Yeah, Duke, you need to have you one of those head-mounted GoPros. Just have it on all the time. When they fly, you'll be ready.
Yeah.
Like we were saying earlier, I don't know if you missed it. We went on a dove flintlock hunt this year, and with the GoPro, and we strapped it on to Ethan, thinking he'd get some good shots with it. And he walked around for 30 minutes, came back with 4 hours of slow-mo footage. No birds.
Well, at least one thing, when he said he hit one, couldn't find it, he had proof.
Oh, yeah, he had proof it fell.
I think
carrying a camera is really going to hurt my number of birds that I got. But anyway. Oh, Crockpot Broccoli is fixing to hunt with a 20 bore Fowler this year. Yeah, see, that's what when I do take a flintlock, I take a 62 caliber Northwest trade gun. Like I said, I've been getting better at it with squirrels, but it's something I got to really practice on because the way I shoot, I get down. All my guns have to have a high comb because I need my face to be, because I always hunted with my face right on the stock, even with shotguns. And so when I get on this Northwest trade gun and get right down on the stock, I'm shooting way too low. But I've trained myself on that particular gun, and it's really difficult to do because you have to retrain yourself when you go back to a different gun. I'm training myself to keep my cheek 2 or 3 inches above the stock, and that way bring my point of aim up a little bit, and then I can hit a little bit. I've been training myself to do that, and my squirrel hunting has gotten quite a bit better. Even barking them with a 60 caliber round ball has gotten quite a bit better.
Since we're talking about hunting, should we tell them our first squirrel hunt with flintlocks?
Go for it. I don't remember.
You don't remember?
You probably did it without me.
No, you were there. Remember
I
that?
probably wasn't carrying a flintlock.
We got tired because we weren't seeing no squirrels for a while. So
Too windy.
Well, we started just shooting at targets we've found laying around.
Oh, okay. That was the first time I went. You'd already been carrying flintlock squirrel hunting. That's the first time I took my flintlock squirrel hunting.
And this squirrel, just for some reason, we're sitting there shooting, and it just walks out in front of us. So Garrett says, I'm going to get that squirrel. So he loads up and shoots, and he's about just a little low. That squirrel walks kind of slowly away, and I said, okay, I'll get it.
And so he loads up. Brown Beth takes off running.
So I shoot, and I miss him by a little bit. So that squirrel kind of looks back at us, both standing back there trying to get reloaded, and walks on. So by
And
this,
then I got reloaded next, and I ran up about 20 yards, and he was at the base of a tree, and I shot again, and once again hit about 6 inches low. Round ball that time.
so he starts chimneying up this tree, and I finally got my musket reloaded. So I run over there, I go to shoot, and
Click.
I go click, and the powder comes flying out of the pan. Like, oh man!
Because he's shooting almost straight up.
So I get my flint sharpened up a little bit, and about that time, that squirrel disappeared for a little bit. So he started to walk away, and pretty soon you hear him chirping. You turn around, he's on that tree limb again.
So
My
I loaded
shot.
up. That was my load up. That time I loaded up with shot, about 30 yards. Had one pellet hit the limb right below his foot, still hit low.
So then he jumps out of the tree and hits the ground again, and takes off walking. So I try again with a 60 caliber round ball because I run out of 69s by then, and I didn't even get close. So we chased the squirrel around, shooting at him, and finally we
We put
said,
about 10 shots in behind him.
if we can't hit him, he deserves to live.
He wasn't trying to run. He just walking away, and I guess I don't know. That was a bad day for us. Could hit nothing that day.
And usually you can hit pretty good with like a 60 out of a brown bess, but it wasn't that day.
Yeah, that was my first day after refinishing my Northwest trade gun. I browned it, did the stock and everything. That was the first day I ever took it out and shot it. So that's my excuse.
That would have been my first squirrel hunting with a flintlock.
Was it? I thought you and Ethan had been hunting flintlock squirrels for a while.
No,
For me.
not really. We've done a lot of target practicing with that yet, but
Hi, Olivia. We're going to probably go for just a little bit longer. This has kind of been a rambly chat. I know we've got off on several rabbit trails. We're going to go, let's see, we've been going for an hour and 30 minutes. Let's go 2 hours, and we'll call it an evening. What do you guys say? We got 13 people in here. Let's give at least another 30 minutes. Can you wait that long? Mountain Man, Caleb Woods. By the way, Dad typed his name in there for him, so he had nothing to do with that, guys.
yeah, I didn't know what happened. It just popped up.
Yeah, Snapper wants to know, Duke, what did you think about the glasses that record video? If you're still out there, Duke. I'd like to, I know you did a video on that. Duke said he got to the river at 7:10, had my duck limit at 7:12 plus 2 geese. Was this recently? That's awesome. What do you hunt with, Duke? I know you use a pump action gun at this point. By the way, guys, if you're looking to get into a cheap 12 gauge for good hunting with a wood stock and built really well, look into the J.C. Higgins Model 20. I've been going to do a video on that someday. It's been one of my go-to 1950 shotguns. You can still pick them up for $150 all day long. They're actually made by High Standard. They are the smoothest shotgun out there, in my opinion. I mean, you can hold it up, hit the button, and the slide's so slick it'll open itself. You don't have to even, if you're holding it straight up, it'll eject a shell. And they're really good guns. I need to do a video on that. What's your favorite, Caleb, cheap little shotgun that you just gave, $150 for and then took hunting? I know we've done it with a lot of them. What's your favorite?
I got a single shot break open I gave $30 for.
Was that the long range winner?
Yeah. Yeah, that one, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of what all cheap shotguns I had.
Not very many because you spend money.
I guess.
We've had a lot of Stevens 620s, Stevens 520s, J.C. Higgins. I've probably been through 10 J.C. Higginses. I always get them because they're cheap and they really don't mean a lot to me, but they're really good guns. And so whenever I want to go sell or trade something or give somebody a gun, that's always the first one that goes is my J.C. Higgins. So I'll get another one and then sell or trade off or get rid of that one and get another one. But they are overall my favorite cheap gun to hunt with.
Well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had auto fives, because one day I went up to you when we were bird hunting, remember?
You were just really young then. What,
I said, if you could have any gun in the world for bird hunting and money was no object, what would you get? And he said, "Oh, a Belgian-made Auto 5." And I said, "Well, order me one."
I had no idea he wanted one that bad, so I went to Gunbroker. He was 18 or so. He was, well, I think the first shotgun you bought.
Well, not the first one I bought, but the best one I bought.
Well, he's like, he didn't even have a clue. He's like, we've been hunting all these years. He's like, what's the best shotgun you would think? And he asked me, which was probably not the smartest move, but he asked me, what is the best shotgun you could buy? Money's no object that I know of. And of course, if I was going to say, yeah, I could step right up and say Ruger Red Label or Browning Satori, you know, but I haven't got any experience with those guns. And he already had some over and unders. And, or no, you got the over and under later.
No, I got it before I got that.
But it was, he's like, what is the best shotgun? And off the top of my head, what everybody, my grandpa and my brother-in-law, nobody ever had one, but the legendary Belgium-made Auto 5. Don't want none of that Japanese-made Auto 5. Don't want none of that made in the 70s Auto 5. Has to be made in Belgium. And so I've always heard about this mythical Belgium-made Browning. And so I told him, if you were going to get a gun, get one of those that everybody around here's talked about and never had. And we did. We ordered a 1940. What was that first one?
47.
47. Okay, so it was post-war.
Yeah.
Belgian-made Auto 5, and it was such a good gun that he just kept buying them. What'd you say you're up to now, 5?
Yeah. I kind of fell in love. Then I got my 16 gauge, and
which doesn't work very well.
It works decent.
It was a 2 9/16 chamber, and funny enough, most of the guns that are 2 9/16 chamber 16 gauges actually work pretty well with the plastic 16 gauge shells.
This one's been converted.
Yeah, somebody tried to
convert it. It didn't do a very good job.
Somebody bored it out to take 2 3/4 inch shells, and they probably would have been better off just leaving it 2 9/16 because now it doesn't feed very well. But that wasn't his first one. His first one was a 12 gauge. That's just one of the many that have come since then.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, counting Dukes, we've at least held a representation of all the Auto 5s that have been made, including the new ones.
You got one behind your head.
Well, yeah, I got the Winchester version, which is the Winchester 1911 SL, and I do take that a lot of times pheasant hunting. But the drawback with it is Winchester and Browning were having a fight at the time, and they didn't, of course, Winchester did not want the semi-auto shotgun. They wanted another lever action gun. Browning wanted to make semi-auto shotgun, so he had a big breakup with them, went to Belgium, to FN, and had his Auto 5s made over there. And then he sold the contract to Remington, which is a Remington, early Remington gun right there. First year production, as far as I can tell. And Winchester was like, oh, no, because these things are taking the country by storm. So they get their lawyers out and they hash out every little detail they can to get around Browning's patents. And they even get some of his patents for the let me show you here. Airsoft. This is the Remington. They get his patent for the long recoil system, which means that this gun works by the barrel. The entire barrel shoves the bolt back, locks it into place. Barrel goes forward, bolt stays back, kicks the shell out. Browning actually let them use that patent. He did not let them use the exact ring setup, Winchester. And after they were all geared up, he said, oh, yeah, you can't have the bolt handle either. So literally, the Winchester SL 1911.
Grab that and show it to him.
Oh, it's pretty well tucked in back there. I've showed it before. It'll get its own video someday, but it does not have a bolt handle. So therefore, it has a knurled barrel. The only way to cock the gun is to depress a button on the receiver, pull the barrel all the way back until the bolt locks into this button you press, then let the barrel back forward. And it's pretty heavy spring. So a lot of people got to where they just set it on the ground, put their hands on their chest, go down, lock the bolt down, and try to hit the button with their knee or their foot to hold it down. The trouble is, every now and then they'd pick a shell up out of the chamber, and it became known as the Widowmaker because it's right there on the chest. They're pushing down. It's not bad if you know how to use it, which is put it in your hip with the barrel forward and then crank back on the barrel. And I use it, but yeah, that's a very odd Auto 5. Not very many of them made. because they didn't have the ring system too, they tend to beat themselves to death. They kick really hard. They don't have a friction ring system like the Remingtons and the Belgian-made ones. The only one we don't have is the Savage. There is a Savage version. We need to look into that. Oh, Duke went out this morning and did that. Good job, Duke. You got it with a TriStar semi-auto. Like the shooting glasses, but the battery's bad, cold otherwise. I would film more hunting videos. Yeah. I didn't know what you thought about those aim. It's called aim cam or something. But yeah. Oh, that's really good. Caleb, I don't own a TriStar. Caleb does. What do you think of your TriStar, Caleb?
It's all right. It's over and under.
TriStar over and under. It's laser engraved back when laser engraving wasn't that great, but it's still engraved.
I've killed quite a few pheasants and quail and doves with it.
I've handled
a couple of ducks, but that's it.
I've handled the TriStar semi-autos, and I think that might be what. Yeah, he said semi-auto, and I really do like them. The wood looks really extra shiny and nice, and they're really light, which is what you want if you're going on a long hunting trip.
Tell him once he gets his Remington, he will never probably use it again.
Oh, Caleb's convinced that Auto 5 is going to sell you. If you guys are using an Auto 5 for hunting, don't use aluminum shells. Same way that when I say aluminum, they're steel case, whatever people say they are. Brass, when you shoot it, will expand and then contract back fairly quickly. The aluminum or steel shells, they expand and don't come back. And they're good for certain modern, like 870s that have really, really loose tolerances. Like Remington has not got the same control that they used to have, the quality control. And those will work in those guns. But if you try to use them in one of these long recoil Auto 5s, what will happen is that barrel will come back and lock the bolt back. And you have all that spring pressure pushing forward on that barrel instantly. And when it does, instead of kicking the shell out like it's supposed to, if the shells grab the chamber walls, on most gas-operated, let me explain. On most gas-operated semi-autos, the gas pushes everything back. And so if the shell is stuck in the chamber, the gas just simply won't push the bolt back. But on these recoil-operated Auto 5s, if you shoot them and that barrel comes rolling back because it's all on recoil and that shell is stuck in there, instead of everything coming back forward, when your bolt locks back just for a minute to pick up the next shell, instead of pulling the shell out, it'll just rip your extractors out of your bolt. Don't ask me how I know it, but I've done it 2 times. So if you guys are running these Auto 5s with the old long recoil system in them, yeah, stay away from those aluminum shells if you don't want to be replacing your extractors all the time. Crockpot Broccoli talking about they reamed the forcing cone. He did this on his Model 97 so I can shoot modern 2 3/4 inch shells. The Brownings are recoil operated, so I can't see why this would matter. Well, why it matters is it's not the forcing cone. In the Auto 5, in the Auto 5 16 gauge with a 2 9/16 inch chamber, it's not necessarily a matter of what happens is the shell is too long when it expands, because the shell is not actually 2 3/4 inch long or 2 1/2. It's actually a little shorter than that. That's the measure of the shell should be when it's completely shot and expanded. And what kind of happens is the shell expands out there and it
catches.
Puts it, yeah, he's saying the forcing cone. It matters on an Auto 5 because if the Auto 5, especially the Belgian-made ones, the extraction ports
are on the back.
The ejection port, is a little bit too short, so they widen that, and at the same time they'll go in there and they'll ream that barrel out so that it's the right size. And in reality, they work just as good.
If it's done right.
If it's done right, it'll work pretty good, but Caleb's was not done right. The 97, I've shot this one of Duke's. It's got a 2 9/16 inch chamber. I don't think it's ever been expanded, but it's it pumps some shells right out of there. It has a few other problems, but it does extract those shells pretty well. Yeah, but they really botched the job on Caleb's Sweet 16 Auto 5. He bought it that way. He didn't have them do it.
Yeah.
What do you think of Caleb about hunting with lever actions?
Oh, when I was a kid, I wanted lever action 12 gauge so bad.
Oh, the 1887.
Uh-huh.
By the way, dude, I would love to see that video. I know you've got it filmed. You just never put it out. The 1887 clones. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, anyways, when I was telling you about that shotgun you'd have, that was the one I had in mind.
Oh, I don't think that would be my choice for a
No.
hunting shotgun.
But when I was a little kid, I thought it would be.
I mean,
and then when I asked you that was when I was trying to make up my mind because I didn't know what I wanted, but I thought I wanted one of them. And when you said that, I was like, I'll just go with that.
Well, I've handled the originals, never owned one, but I've handled the originals fairly extensively in different places. And the thing that always comes back to me, especially on the 10 gauge guns, not only are they, if they're in any good condition, they are prohibitively expensive if they're an original, but the lever throw is so long. I don't know. That would be trying to get a follow-up shot on a covey of birds would be difficult for me. It'd be similar to using a bolt action. But
when you're a little kid and you see everybody use the lever action, you're like, I could do this.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could. That's just the way it seems to me. If you got used to it, it would probably be absolutely fine.
I'm kind of like you. I mean, I bet it'd be all right, but that probably wouldn't be my go-to. I'm glad I ended up with that Auto 5.
Yeah, the Auto 5s are... In your opinion, though, let's think about this. Ethan made a video not long ago where he called the Tobin the ultimate pheasant gun.
He's never even took that pheasant hunting yet. I don't think.
I think we changed the title. I've done a lot of turkey hunting and quail hunting with that guy. I've took it pheasant hunting.
He could have called it the ultimate dove gun because I've seen him drop doubles lots of times with it.
Okay. I'm going to make you exclude your Auto 5s because I know you're so partial to them. The ultimate hunting gun. You don't even have to have ever owned it. Just that you know about.
For hunting what?
Let's say upland game, like Ethan said, pheasants. The ultimate pheasant quail gun. It's got to be able to fill both roles because usually you're hunting both when you hunt one.
I don't know. Semi-auto is very nice if you run into a bunch of quail.
But it can be a semi-auto, but we're eliminating the Auto 5.
You always like to put these tough ones on.
Yep.
Oh. I guess a Remington's not technically an Auto 5, is it? No, I'd probably go with my double barrel Fox.
Your AH Fox?
But then again, I've killed an awful lot of pheasants with that star over and under too, I guess.
The TriStar?
But the only problem I run into with that is when a covey flies up at quail and you only got 2 shots. Sometimes that third or fourth quail is nice.
Okay. So you're going to say you like the AH Fox is probably going to be your ultimate gun. It's got good looks. It's a fairly expensive gun. It's got great value. It's really nice handling. It was made by a really reputable company in the late early 1900s, right? So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I have one too, and I do agree they're great. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, and all the people that have shot trap and skeet and are shooting their Browning Satoris and they're over and under, really, really fancy guns will probably take me to task for this. I find it very, very hard to beat an original, good shape, white diamond grade Winchester Model 12. That's kind of the top of the Winchester Model 12. There's one grade above it that's for like kings. But I have seen it used extensively. It's a very expensive white diamond. The white diamond Model 12s are really expensive, hard to come by. They're above the trap grade. And my uncle has had one, and it's the king, in my opinion. As far as what I know of right now, what I've heard of, what I've shot, give me a Model 12. And you have 2 Model 12s, don't you, Caleb? Of course, they're both just standard grade. And the Model 97 is great. It's a little more clunky. When they made that Model 12, they kind of threw away the mold, in my opinion. It's an all-steel gun. It's just slicker. And like I said, the J.C. Higgins Model 20 is my go-to gun for being a good antique, hard-working horse gun that's cheap. But that white diamond Model 12 is, in my opinion, the ultimate upland game gun.
I'd probably see more pheasants and quail dropped with one of them than anything.
With the white diamond Model 12? Yeah, you got to get that. My uncle used to always say, hold 5 shots, no 6 shots. He said you need them all because when the bird flies, you got to fire one into the ground at your feet.
One into the air to scare them.
You got to fire one in the air to scare it, one in the ground at your feet as you're coming down to get on it, one as it's flying away and you miss, and 3 more as it's going over the hill just in frustration. Oh, yeah, no problem, Crockpot Broccoli. We are always interested to hear about gunsmithing and things that we may not know, because usually with the old guns we mess with at some point, we're going to have to use that information. I get what you're saying. He says putting a forcing cone in an old shotgun removes that shelf and allows a modern shell enough space to safely expand. Yeah, I know what you're saying there. I get what you're saying. In the words of Justin Wilson, Duke says, in the words of Justin Wilson, semi-aromatic carabiner that shoots 3 times when the game warden's around about 5 times when he ain't. Exactly. That's why them Winchester guns, most of them hold 6, 5 in a tube, 1 in a chamber, 1 more than Remington. Same as Mossberg's, I guess, but yeah, you have to plug them for dove season. But when it comes time for pheasant and quail, it's open game. You can put as many shells in that bad boy as it can hold. Ethan has hunted quail with a Sega 12 with a 25-round drum. It's real fun when the quail fly. Not so fun carrying. That thing is a heavy dude with a 25-round drum in it.
Don't tell Ethan I said this, but when you got that drum, it seems like he don't do as good.
Well, of course he doesn't. He's got to pull up another 3 pounds of weight to get to his shoulder. And then when the drum's working in this big old giant 12-gauge drum is working in a circle, and it's every time he shoots, it's ripping sideways when the spring goes that way. And it's cool to look at. It'd be great for probably mounted position on top of your roof to defend your home.
But have a tripod under it.
If you want to carry that dude very long, you ain't going to want to have it with that drum banging around in it.
He only did that once.
Yeah. He plans on putting a video out on that gun with the drum. You'll see that gun come out tomorrow, not with a drum. We made him use his 5-round stick mag for the video that'll be out in the morning.
Yeah, because all the rest of us had to use 5 rounds. Well,
I could have used 6, but I didn't.
I was the only one then.
And you actually did that hunt. And in that hunt, which, like I said, it's not the kind of hunt you guys are probably thinking of. You'll have to watch to find out. We actually fired 70 shells in this video. And out of all those, and these were in old semi-autos. Caleb had old semi-auto. I was using my Winchester Model 97 and 12 gauge, which is made in the 1930s. Ethan was using his Sega, which is a really modern gun, semi-auto AK 12 gauge. But anyway, out of all those shells, we had exactly 1 stovepipe, and it was Caleb. I want you to watch this video because a lot of people talk about how these old long recoil guns, if they stovepipe, it's a nightmare. Watch this video and see exactly how hard it is. Caleb has to fight that shell to get it out of there. I literally, when I was editing the video in the shots, I couldn't tell the difference in that jam and the other shots. You cleared that jam so fast. What did you do? Did you pull the bolt back and drop the shell out, or did you just literally grab the end of the shell and rip it out of the side?
That's what I always do if I ever have one. You just grab the shell and pull, and throws another one in, and you go.
And that was done with cheap low brass. So, yeah, these old guns are a lot more reliable. A lot of people give them credit for it. Best Duke did on quail was 21. Woo! That's a lot of quail. Dad asked if I ground pounded them, and I asked if they could fly. Okay. Yeah, Duke, that's pretty good. His dad said, did you shoot them on the ground? And Dick said, can they fly? So what he did was probably got a short barrel shotgun, saw the covey under the cedar tree, lifted one of them limbs, and just... Don't do that, guys. I think it's illegal. Oh, I've heard of people doing that, covey shooting the quail. I mean, old timers, way before the laws even took effect around here. Brother-in-law has an original 97 that was his great-great-grandpa's, and they have the barrel on that thing cut. It is still legal length, but they cut it with a hacksaw, and now it looks like it's an AK muzzle brake because the bottom is so much longer than the top. But they talk about how they would just move the cedar tree limb back with the covey of quail under it, and they would just shoot into the covey. And they did that back then because they had heat. They weren't worried about. I mean, they were worried about conservation, of course, but they really
were doing sport. They were doing it.
Exactly. Can they fly? Yeah. I've heard that before. Can they fly? Caleb, why don't you tell us about that story that our uncle told us about old Buster Hathaway's dog hunting quail?
Oh, he said that dog
Okay, now you guys, you got to realize our uncle is not lying to us. Okay.
never.
No, this is hyperbole. He would tell us stories like this and see if we really thought they were true or not.
Kind of like when he talked about seeing the squirrel nest and said that's where the raccoons live.
Anyway, go ahead, Caleb. Tell us about Buster Hathaway's dog. Buster Hathaway was a World War II vet. He died when I was young. Him and my uncle and him hunted a lot. But my uncle would talk about when he come home from the war, he had the best quail hunting dogs in Barber County. And he trained them, and my uncle told us how good they were. Tell us about how good them dogs were, Caleb.
Okay. He said those dogs go run that into a bare dirt field that's just been
farm field.
Up. He would chase those birds into a hole, put his paw over the hole, wait until they got there to shoot him, and then let them out one at a time. And he said if you ever shot and missed, that dog would just sit there and stare at you, and he'd take a little longer next time you let the next one out.
As a kid, I remember him telling me that, and I was like, wow. I'd look over at old Trigger, who was our, what was Trigger? He was an English.
Trigger?
Old Trigger.
Pointer.
Old Trigger, yeah. The old man's dog, his grandpa called him. I'd look over at Trigger and think, as a little kid, I'd think, man, you are not earning your pay. You ought to be out there in the dirt field chasing them quail into a hole and letting them out one at a time so I can shoot them with my single shot 410.
Yeah, and he said that dog would just sit there and hold his paw over it until they got up there to shoot. Then the other thing is, he always said, someday you need to climb up that tree and look in that nest. He said the raccoons lay their eggs in it. When he talked about squirrel nests.
Oh, yeah, he was quite the dog, that Buster Hathaway's old dog. Buster was, like I said, he was a World War II vet, came home with one leg. I knew him very little as a kid. He lived here in town, and he'd take the local teenagers hunting if their dads were at work or busy, and he always had some good stories. He had evidently the greatest dog in the world, and he did some he would reload 30-06 shells, and actually about 5 years ago, he'd been dead for about 20 years. Somehow I got a handful of his reloaded 30-06 shells.
Our uncle gave them to you.
Yeah. Now get this. The bullets that he had loaded were a 30 caliber bullet, but somehow he had got those things down to about 80 grains. They were the lightest. I mean, you can get 90 grain 30-06. Usually 30-06 is the electrician's load, 110 to 220. But he had these down to about 80, and they were literally disintegrating on impact. I don't know what he did to them, but also we shot about 3 of them, and then we had a case crack, and so we quit shooting them.
Well, let me put this the way my uncle said. These bullets are for looks and not shooting, because when he loaded them hot.
They were, yeah, and it's not a good idea to shoot reloaded shells somebody else has done. I did it that time, probably shouldn't have, but yeah, they were some. I pulled that one bullet. It was 80 grains. I think he was chopping the back off or something. I don't know what he was doing, but he had them dudes light. We're getting there, Caleb. We're going to go around 8 more minutes.
Yeah.
It's been a good chat. It's been fun.
I remember when my uncle's dog did something kind of like that, letting them out one at a time. The best time I ever had. I got all 5, used up every shell in my gun.
Where were they at? In the bottom of a cedar tree or something? He was holding them?
No, actually, they went up and they were on a field edge. And I don't know if they were spread out or what the deal was. But that dog
just pointed one at a time. And
no, he creeped up there, and it was a whole covey. But when he creeped up there, he was only scaring one up at a time as he went along, which was kind of odd.
Must have just been the day. Everything worked out right.
Yeah.
And yeah, didn't you get all of them?
Yep, the wind was blowing pretty hard, so they all flew right over me, and I got all 5. And I ran out of ammo, and then they all flipped. But that was weird. I've never had them just fly up one at a time like that.
There's only a few times and I've been on a lot of quail hunts, only a few times I've actually seen people succeed over 3 in one fly up. My brother-in-law got 4 one time, and they were kind of in a area where there was a bunch of cedar trees around him, and he's an 870 guy, not modern 870s, of course, but old wing masters, and he has everyone you can imagine. He's got first year productions, and I bet you he's got 10 wing masters over there. Anyway, he got on it, and he got 4, I think, because they flew up in this little clearing between these cedar trees, and unless they flew directly into the cedar trees, they had to go straight up and over. And he did really well. That was one of the few times I actually know I saw somebody get more than 3. And of course, Caleb got 5 on the edge of that field, but that was not all in one fly up either.
Yeah, that was one at a time. But talk about the funniest thing we ever seen when we're quail hunting. That time me and you and Ethan busted that covey. One of them flew right into a tree and knocked itself out. Didn't even have to waste a shot.
I still wonder if somebody didn't put something in him.
No, I'm pretty sure we didn't.
He did fly right into the tree, and then we found him right underneath of it. Was he still alive? I don't remember.
Yeah, he was kind of stunned.
I've seen videos on YouTube of them flying out of down there in Texas. The one I'm thinking of, they were flying out of like a cholla or something down there, a yucca or something. And this guy, literally, they flew at him, and he puts his hands up like this and accidentally catches one. And it's the most amazing shock look on his face and the shock look on everybody else's face. And he's sitting there. They come right up at his face, and he just goes like this to cover his face and catches a bird. It's pretty amazing to see. I was like, wow. I don't think he meant to do it. It just kind of happened that way. Oh, well, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to talk about the time you shot that dove. Feathers flew, and he kept going, and he shot that dove, and the feathers flew, and it kept going. Remember that?
I don't remember. Who did it, Ethan?
No, you did.
Oh, I did?
Took you about 5 shots, but you finally got him.
It must not have been very good shots. Yeah, Duke says Grandpa had a hunting dog as a kid that was so good he had to tape up one nostril to keep him from tracking 2 animals at the same time. That sounds like something our uncle would have said right there. Oh, man, that's a good one. I'll have to remember that one. But could he do it in a dirt field? That's the question. Oh, man. All right, guys, we got about 3 minutes here. Let's talk about future hunting plans for this year, Caleb. I think I'm putting the 62 pocket police squirrel hunt on the list. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
You carry that, and I will carry
No, you can carry that.
You want that one? You want the 61 Navy?
I'll take 61 Navy.
Okay. I think that'll be an excellent, fun video because we'll be able to have our hands free to run cameras when we're not actually shooting and one or the other. That will be a great video. We got Flintlock squirrel hunting video should be coming out. Hopefully, if all works out well, we might be able to do a Flintlock doe hunt. I won't be shooting. I will be filming.
I probably won't be shooting, but
leaves it up to Caleb or Noah.
Probably Noah.
If all things work out. We have a really good schedule of videos coming up, guys. All our main videos are scheduled to release Sunday mornings at 7:30 Central. We have a few modern guns coming. Definitely have some cool Flintlock stuff Ethan filmed quite a while ago. It's just taking such big videos. They've taken this long to get put out. Of course, that Cash EDC video we got coming, AK-47. A lot of other videos I'm pretty excited about. Some gun build videos. And anything else you want to say, Caleb, before we go?
Mom just came in here and gave me ill rebukes about shooting her pet squirrel.
Yeah, it's on the internet now, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, you led me into it. You literally asked me what was my most impressive squirrel shot. That way I would have to ask you.
Yeah, but you didn't have to tell where it happened.
Oh, I didn't have to tell the whole story?
Yeah.
Snapper wants to know if we've ever done the Navy with birdshot. No, I haven't. In my opinion, that's pretty good for snakes and whatnot at 10 feet. Anytime you put birdshot through rifling, it spreads out awfully fast. I generally, last summer, I spent the whole summer carrying a 410 Derringer and pretty good with 45 Colt and 410 buckshot. It's really fast spreading with birdshot. So I don't know. It probably works. I mean, if he's like he says it works, it probably works just fine. But I haven't tried it. Might have to. I doubt once you get out past 15 yards or so, it would have enough to get a squirrel, though. What do you think, Caleb?
I'm not sure. Light rifling's sure going to spread it, I bet.
Yeah, twist it and it'll send it into a big old wide pattern with a hole in the center of it. Unspecified podcast and review said, my pawpaw had a bingo dog named Tut. He didn't do much. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get on off of here. Duke, if you want to hang around, if you got a chance after we go off, I might try to send you a link on it to show you some stuff on this gun if you get a chance. But anyway, guys, we are going to go ahead and end this broadcast right here, right at 2 hours. I thank you all for coming in here. You guys are the soul and heart of the 11 Bang Bang channel. Tune in 2 weeks from now. I don't know if it will be on a Friday or a Saturday. We have lined up the Wild Snapper as a guest, and he is going to be discussing some of his original guns, which he has, since the last time we've talked to him, he has procured quite a few more original guns. He'll be giving us his thoughts on that, and I believe collecting original Colts in general. And that should be in 2 weeks. Like I said, I don't know if it'll be the 17th or the 18th. Could be a Friday, Saturday, or Monday. I will let you know. And after that, we have a list of guests signed up every month, and then we'll have a guest every month, and then every other 2 weeks, 2 shows a month, it will be just us discussing things like this or doing Q&As with you guys, because we have a lot of fun just talking to you guys there in the chat. Anyway, we'll see y'all later. Trust in God.
Keep your powder dry.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.